This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to a chilly morning here in South Africa, Djuma Game Reserve. It's a frosty one. Winter is most definitely on its way, if not here already, and we're just admiring the sunrise. My name is Lauren. I do have Davi on camera, and we're just looking across quarantine, one of my most favourite areas in the entire reserve, admiring all the animals also wakening up. The impala are running, the wildebeest are running, they're happy. Night is over, no need to panic. So of course we have many of you joining us today on our live safari. Please do talk to us. We have children from all over the world, including here in South Africa, USA, UK, New Zealand, Australia, Cambodia, and Thailand. Wow. And I'm sure there's many more. I've been to both Cambodia and Thailand, and I have to say they're up there with my favorites. It's a chilly 17 degrees Celsius and 62 degrees Fahrenheit, so we're all very much wrapped up nice and warm here. And hopefully that sun will burn through and we can start peeling off the layers. The impala are leaping and bounding everywhere. It's so wonderful. They're happy they made it through the night. I don't think nighttime can be easy for the impalas. I think it must be very stressful on some level. They know that anything can sneak up on them. Okay, Davi, shall we bumble into the sunrise? I say we. Everyone is saying good morning. And of course, this is your live safari, so we hope we can find lots of exciting things for you today. I'm going to check the western edge of quarantine. That's my lucky spot. Everyone has their own lucky spot in the reserve. And then I'm going to take it from there. The impala are going crazy. Okay, as I bumble around quarantine to see what I can find for you, we are going to send you across to James, who wants to say good morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Sunrise Safari, where the sun has not yet risen. And especially to our younger viewers, I hope that you are enjoying yourselves wherever you happen to find yourselves on planet Earth today. We are, as you can see, in a slight hurry. That's me, James, and Owen on camera. And we heard some hyenas going, I think from exactly where we are now this morning. The trick is to find where they've gone, and mostly the trick is to find out what they were going at. Possibly some lions, possibly each other, possibly a leopard that had killed something, but we're just going to do a little drive around here and see if we can't figure it out. Their footprints or tracks are all over the road here, and so with any luck we'll come up with something. They've been running around here during the course of the night. Elephants have been crisscrossing all over. And so I don't know, maybe we shall find something interesting here. But in an hour, it doesn't take a long time. Or in an hour, they can move a long way. Many of you asking if I enjoyed sleeping in the final control last night. My wife banished me from our quarters for insolence and general misbehavior. Yes, I did. I found it. Look, I was a little bit cold, but I was comfortable enough. I was not dragged off by hyenas. Thank you for your concern. The noise, I think, was coming from in here. Well, Tristan, that's a very good question. If a hyena went to a museum, would it eat the dinosaur bones? Tristan, no. And I'll tell you why. Because the bones that you see in a dinosaur museum are not in fact real bones. They are, if you're lucky, fossils. Most of the time they're just replicas, however. Now a fossil, which is what the paleontologists dig out of the ground, is not in fact a bone. It's like an ancient, I don't know how to describe this to you in a simple way. it's not actually made of bone, it's made of rock. And it's what we call an impression of a bone. So it looks like a bone, it's the exact shape of a bone, but it isn't actually a bone. So it's like when you make a model, it's like nature's made a model of the bone. So if a hyena went along to the Dinosaur Museum, it would basically find a whole lot of stones to eat, and hyenas don't eat stones. Tristan, they mainly eat bones, like you well know. A lot of those bones also have been replicated by human beings, so we're very clever at finding out what things used to look like, and so we make the bones ourselves, and then they look like real bones. Let's now go 40 kilometers to the north of where we are now and just chat to Nikki, who is going to say good morning.
Good morning to all the kids. We had andBeyond and Ngala, and I'm Nikki. I'm going to be your ranger this morning. And with me on the camera is Marcel. Here we go. He's quite a nice guy. So what our plans are for this morning is we are driving near one of the riverbeds, and we want to see if there's any signs of leopard and lion this morning. Now, we haven't heard any lions last night, so normally in the evening you can, or early morning, you do hear them calling, but we just haven't heard anyone or any of them calling. So we're going to go look for, see if there's any tracks or signs of lions as well as leopard, and then as it warms up, we'll try and look for some wild dogs this morning. It's beautiful, like whatever we find along the way. Of course, you'd never know in the bush, there's just filled with surprises. And I would love to hear from the kids if there's anything that you want to see, or any special stop or tree you want to know about. And if it occurs in the area, maybe we can try and find it for everyone. So I'd love to hear from the kids. Send us those messages and let me know what you want to see. And let's try and see if we can find it. Leo and Anya, you were asking a very good question in regards to what is the current situation of rhinos in South Africa. Now, rhinos, as you know, are very, quite endangered because of the horn and how people, try to kill those rhinos for the horns. And so at the moment, I mean, it is a hard situation because it's hard to describe what's currently happening out there, but it is quite a big problem at the moment. And hopefully with all the conservation work done, with all the protection, and with everyone knowing the importance of the rhino and the importance to save them, hopefully we'll be able to look after them. But currently, as it stands, quite a big problem. I don't just think in South Africa, but I think in the world in general. Rhinos are quite under a lot of pressure. There's some hyena tracks on the road. Now, often, I know James also said that he was going to look out for some hyenas. Now, if we do want to look for the wild dogs later on, sometimes what they do is the hyenas will follow the wild dogs. So if the wild dogs make a kill, the hyenas will go and try and get some of the scraps, or maybe even try and chase the wild dogs off to go get the meat and then run off from there. I have seen a hyena track going down this road, but I haven't seen any wild dog tracks yet. But what we're looking out for, whenever we start looking out for the wild dogs, is they do prefer more open areas, so grassland areas. You often see the white at the end of the tail if they do move up, or these big round cup-like ears that might stick out of the grass. So we are going to slowly carry on with this road and see if there's any signs of them. But of course, early in the morning, we'll rather focus for some lions and leopard, and as it warms up, we'll start looking out for the wild dogs. So while we are carrying on with our little search this morning, let's head across to Lauren and hear what she's tracking this morning.
I'm not tracking anything because I haven't found any tracks. You have to find tracks to track. But I am bumbling and hoping to find tracks. If not, we're just going to drive, see what else we can find. There's lots of life out here, and end up with Miss Ribbon. James managed to get her at the den yesterday evening, which is good news. It means she's not moved dens yet. As the cubs are getting older, she doesn't need to spend as much time there. She does need to nurse, she does need to spend time with them. But all night, Miss Ribbon will be active. I'm sure of it. And of course, that can extend into the morning as well, and the afternoon, and even the next evening. Ribbon needs to eat. She needs to keep that huge belly of hers nice and full in order to keep providing that nutritious milk. Hyena milk is actually said to be one of the most nutritious in the entire animal kingdom. Zoe, you're 10 years old from Durban and you're asking about Ribbon's pups. But they're actually called cubs. So when we speak about hyenas, we say cubs. And it really depends on what sex they are. So there's two. She's had a twin litter, which is very, very common and normal for hyenas. And if they are female, they will most likely stay with Ribbon and the clan for their entire life, especially because Ribbon is the matriarch. So that means if she has a daughter, that daughter will also be very high ranking. Maybe not the matriarch right now, but definitely the second or the third, very high ranking. And of course, there's a lot of potential there to then become the matriarch. If she has a son, if she has a male, then normally the males disperse. They will leave the clan, not always, but normally, to go and join another clan, maybe a neighboring clan, or they might even travel a little bit further because they need to get away from their natal clan in order to mate with females. If they stay in their natal clan, they won't have any mating opportunities. They're most likely related to everyone, or the females will not mate with them. So the males have to go, and that can happen anywhere from 2 years of age. The males will disperse, and you'll see them, but they will no longer be part of the Djuma clan. So it really depends on if Ribbon's cubs are male or female as to what will happen with them. Will they stay? Will they go? Daughters stay, sons go. And we most likely won't be able to confirm if they're male or female for quite some time. It's tricky. They look very similar in terms of their genitals. So normally we can guesstimate, but in order to actually confirm, we wait a little while. You can get it wrong. Do you know Ribbon was thought to be a boy? The sunrise is peeking up. Ribbon was thought to be a boy until she gave birth. Tell me when you get a nice view, Dobby. Ah, that ball of gas in the sky is finally revealing itself. So it normally gets a little bit colder before it gets warmer, but let's just take a moment to appreciate the start of the sunrise. I'm sorry, everyone. That was supposed to be a moment of silence, and I just sneezed. Apologies. I'm very, very sorry. I was going to get some tissues. Excuse me. That was not supposed to happen. There we go. That's better. Apologies. Lauren ruins a moment of silence by sneezing. Okay. It's up. Now we're going to head over to that famous junction and see if we can spot any tracks after watching that glorious, glorious sunrise. Okay. Hopefully we'll pick up on some tracks, otherwise we'll just have to keep bumbling for now. As I make my way there, we are going to send you guys back across to James for an update.
We are unfortunately unable to give you much of an update, so we'll look at these two terrified crested francolins. Terrified because they are running. Now they have disappeared. Let me ease down the road slightly. It's always a good idea at this time of the day to stop and listen. I've seen plenty of hyena tracks. Unfortunately, the hyenas themselves have vanished into thin air, as always happens when you start off the drive hearing sounds and noises. And they've done much the same as these francolins. Oh, that is a pity. Hello Joshua, you're 9 years old in Australia and wondering if a hyena's teeth are in fact sharper than a dinosaur's. It depends on the dinosaur really. I think that you'll find dinosaurs such as the Brontosaurus, which was a herbivore, had very blunt teeth. So yes, sharper than that. Would they be sharper than some of the predatory dinosaurs like the Tyrannosaurus rex? Probably about the same. Hyenas have got pretty sharp teeth. I think the sharpest teeth, probably surprisingly, you might be surprised to hear, belong to the warthogs, which have very sharp bottom teeth, and maybe even baboons. Baboons have got daggers basically in the front of their mouths. I think they have the two sharpest sets of teeth. And my good wife in the final control room now trying to correct me, saying, what about crocodiles? Crocodiles have actually got pretty blunt teeth. They don't have very sharp teeth at all in comparison with some of the others. So where? Lauren, you're wondering what hyenas like to eat them. Oh, Lauren, I think you probably have your favorite food, right? You've got your favorite stuff that you like to eat. Hyenas, really, they're not fussy like us humans. We all have our favorite kinds of foods to eat, but hyenas are not fussy about what they eat. They'll eat pretty much anything. So I don't think that they have a favorite food. They like thick bones that have got nice fat inside them, and it doesn't really matter who they belonged to. Yes, they also like to eat what we call flip-flops. You might call a thong. No, you probably don't call it a thong. Some people call them thongs, but some people refer to thongs as underwear, so I don't know which one you mean. I mean those shoes, beach shoes basically. They like even running shoes. I have 2 holes in the back of my shoes from where they bit my shoes. I left them outside like a silly fellow one night. Now we've done a complete loop of this area. We're going to stop and quickly have a look at that bird up top on the dead tree there. 2 birds, 2 grey go-away birds. And then I think we'll probably head up towards the northwestern corner of Djuma, which is where we are now. Those go-away birds get to do this every morning. They sit on top of a tree like this and they watch the sun come up, and they think about the day and what they're going to achieve. I don't really think they think that at all. They just enjoy the warmth. Thomas and Charlotte remember that some animals don't go to sleep, really. You know, some animals will be awake throughout the night. But those animals that are active in the day, so the diurnal animals, of those, the first ones to get up are probably the grey-headed sparrows. So those are the first ones that you can hear in the morning, the grey-headed sparrow, and then the crested francolins. And of the mammals, I think they all probably start to get up as soon as it gets a little bit light. Wild dogs start to move very early, before it gets light. And things like impala and wildebeest will start to graze as soon as it gets light. They're just having a little bit of a bath. They can't get in a shower or a bath, so they have to do it themselves. They've got special glands that help them to stay clean. They spread oil all over their feathers. And they really don't look like much, these birds, do they? They're very nice design, interesting design, but they're not tremendously colourful, and most of their relatives, the taracos, are bright greens and reds and blues and yellows, and they sound like this, which is exactly what my wife sounds like when I say something to her that she doesn't like. She didn't find that funny, everybody. Right, let's carry on. Oh, hello David and James in Perth, Western Australia. You're wondering about the Big Five and how they got their names. Well, James and David, the Big Five, it's a very sad reason that they have their name. And the Big Five were called the Big Five because they were the 5 most dangerous animals to hunt. And so the hunters called them the Big Five. And that's basically how they got their name. And so it's really, I really detest, which means I really don't like at all, the name Big Five. I think it's a bad thing to use because it diminishes the importance and beauty of so many other animals. It doesn't include things like giraffe, wild dogs, cheetah, hippopotamus, crocodiles, all of the antelope, magnificent birds. It's just the animals that somebody with a lust for blood thought was a good idea to shoot, and they were the most dangerous ones to hunt. So I don't use the term Big Five, and I wish that nobody would use the term Big Five. All right, Lauren's managed to find our first big animal of the day. Let's go to her.
I have. Oh, perfect timing. Thank you, Mr. Elephant. You are. Thank you. That timing could not have been better. We have found a sleepy herd, and the reason I say sleepy is they were moving so slowly. Nobody's in a rush. Nobody's in a hurry. Just clearly doing the toilet and feeding. They're obviously enjoying the warmth of the sun as well. Now, it's not too warm yet, but elephants will thoroughly enjoy the sun popping up, and they're everywhere. We're surrounded by them. Had such a lovely elephant encounter yesterday, and it actually got me thinking, because a lot of people, when you mention elephants, automatically think intelligence. Elephants are one of the most intelligent animals in the bush. And of course, when it comes to animal intelligence, it's very, very tricky. What markers do you use? How can you say an animal is intelligent and an animal is not intelligent? So I'm a big believer that animals are intelligent as they need to be. Yes, a jellyfish may be smart in its own environment. How can we say that it's not, really? So human intelligence, at least we can relate to that. Basically, sorry, my nose is still running. I do apologize, everyone. Evolved from earlier primates. So there was a first split along the lines of evolution with primates about 7 million years ago. Then there was another split about 200,000 years ago. And that in an evolutionary blink of an eye, we have humans with extremely well-developed big brains, which leads us to think that we're intelligent. Big brains equal complex language. We have complex language skills equals culture. Then, of course, comes technology, civilization, migration. All of these things come with our bigger brains, our intelligence. But bigger brains would mean more neurons. And I'm just going to do a comparison of neurons. Neurons are those special cells in the brain that fire and allow the brain to be powered. Humans are said to have around 100 billion neurons. Chimpanzees are said to have about 30 billion. A mouse is said to have 0.07 billion. And an elephant is said to have about 200 billion neurons. So is that a good marker for intelligence? On here. Yes, we see you. Jane, you're 11 years old, and you're asking, do elephants eat all the plants there? I think that was the question. Elephants are very happy at the minute because it's summer, and they're thriving. They can graze on the grass, so they can pull the grass up with their trunk and pop it in their mouth, or they can actually browse. They can pull all the leaves of any of the trees that they fancy eating, and they can pop it in their mouth that way. Summer allows elephants to eat a diverse range of vegetation. So you will see elephants pulling up grass. You'll also see elephants eating trees, and they're happy. They're relaxed because food is everywhere. Food is plentiful. Water is plentiful. But come winter, their diet will change, I'm afraid. The grass will recede and die. Only the evergreen trees will retain their leaves. So it becomes very stressful for elephants in winter because food is not as plentiful anymore. So elephants have huge brains, lots of neurons inside, and they're said to be very, very intelligent animals. Although, in comparison to their body, their brains are said to be the same size relative to us. So, of course, in a comparison next to the human brain, they're much, much bigger, about 3 times bigger. But in comparison to the size of their body, they have the same body, they have the same ratio as us. They're always communicating. We just can't hear them. Always talking in their head. They know where one another are. They know what one another are doing. And the mothers are always keeping an eye on their youngsters. Always. Okay, I'm going to stay with... Oh, we've got a stretch, a bit of yoga going on here. I'm going to try and stay with these elephants as long as I can for the morning, but we're going to send you guys across to Nikki, who's looking at the sunrise.
So have a look at how beautiful the sunrise is this morning. So there's a tree just in front of the sun, and you'll notice there's some nests just in front of it. It's from a red-billed buffalo weaver. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that now. I just want to see, like, as soon as that sun peeks over the clouds. how beautiful are those colors, like the streaks of sunlight that you can just see coming through, and then of course like even that golden rim on top of the clouds. See how it looks like the sun is almost pushing his way through the clouds. Like you can just see him like pushing his way up. I don't know if anyone can hear the grey hornbills calling in the distance. And just the way that sun is moving, I don't think it's going to be too long before it starts peeling over that cloud. I think it's going to be such a beautiful sight to see. There we go, you can see how slowly the sun is like peeking over the cloud. Yeah, Marcel said he wanted to sing the opening scene of The Lion King, so Marcel, you can go ahead.
I'll spare you that injustice.
Wow, that's probably one of the most beautiful sunrises I've seen in a very long time. So the sun is about to come out completely, and then we're going to lose this beautiful sight, but it's still going to be a beautiful morning. While we head off to start our search, let's head across to Lauren with those elephants.
We have just watched the most incredible moment between this young male and another. I didn't get to see what sex it was a youngster, having the most tender moments, touching each other with the trunk, rubbing their bodies together. So what they tend to do is stand side by side but facing opposite directions, and they rub their bodies together. It's so lovely. And then we watched him stretch. He stretched every limb, then his spine. We should always listen to the animals. I forget to stretch every morning, but we should. 5 minutes to stretching every single part of our body. The animals do it, why shouldn't we? We're animals after all. This is a huge roadblock. Elephants all different sizes, all different ages, boys, girls. See, when an elephant throws dust over itself like that, what it's actually doing is 2 reasons. The main reason is caking yourself in dust can actually act as a sunscreen. So of course the sun's coming up The elephants are aware that it's going to be a hot day, hopefully, and they normally cover themselves in dust as a sun protection. Also, it feels good. Imagine having incredibly dry, thick skin like the elephants do. They get itchy, scratchy bits that they just can't get to, of course, because they don't have hands like we do. They can use their trunk. But throwing dust over themselves can feel really good on the dry skin, and it can also help dislodge any nasty insects or parasites that are sitting on their skin. Elephants do get ticks. Now, ticks are arachnids that bed into the skin and suck blood. They do get them. Maybe not on the thickest part of their skin. Elephant skin can be 4 centimeters thick in some parts, but on the thinner parts, on the underbelly, the genitals, and the ears, they can. Elle, you're 12 years old and you would like to know more about elephant body language. Absolutely. So they communicate to each other within the herd vocally, and sometimes it's so loud that you get a fright. Sometimes we can't even hear it because our ears are not designed to hear it. So they're always communicating, but elephants are very, very tactile. And what that means is they like to touch one another, especially within the same herd. This elephant just touched the other one with his trunk. And this is just them. Hello. Aha. Good morning to you too, little one. It's a little girl, I think. A young girl. So yes, they're always touching one another. They're very tactile that way. They'll use their trunk and also body rub, as I mentioned. But all of these actions can communicate to one another. So if they're not communicating through sound, they will use body language. And that's what you're asking about, Elle. So they will, of course, react to many different situations through body language. Now, when they feel threatened, especially when there's a human in the vicinity that they're not happy with, they try to make themselves look bigger. Now, they are already huge, I know, but what they'll do is they'll stand still and they'll stretch up their neck. So they'll put their neck up like this to make them seem taller, and they'll open up their ears to make them seem just generally bigger. When an elephant does this, you can be best guess that they're not really pleased with you. They're trying to make themselves look bigger. They're feeling possibly a little bit threatened. Their tail, their tail is also a giveaway. You can see the tail is normally loose and swooshing from side to side because they're swatting away the flies. If that tail goes erect and straight and doesn't move, that's another sign that they're not best pleased. Elephant, what are you doing? They will also sometimes sway back and forth on one foot. When an elephant does this, it also shows you that they're not very pleased with you. They have lots of ways to communicate through body language. You've just really got to pay attention, especially us, if you're surrounded by elephants and an elephant's not happy. They will really let you know. Males are notorious for fake eating. So if they're not happy with you and they're really sussing you out and trying to figure out what you are and what you're doing there, they'll pretend to eat. But if you pay enough attention, you'll see that they're actually not eating. They're fake eating. And it's a distraction technique. Hopefully we won't lose this herd. I'm going to try and keep up with them as long as I can. But it appears like James has found a water buck.
There is a waterbuck, magnificent bull, superb white target on his buttocks, and he is making his way down towards a waterhole, which is appropriate for a waterbuck, I would say. Now this bull will have set himself a territory somewhere in the vicinity of this waterhole. He looks to be a little bit disturbed by what he is perceiving in the bushes, but not overly terrified. And I love the subtle gold colour of his fur as the rising sun casts its rays upon him. He's definitely looking at something, yeah. I always find that when you look at antelope like this, when they lift their heads up and put their ears forward, they seem to be concerned. But of course, it's very difficult for them to show any kind of expression because they don't have the muscles in their faces that are able to express emotion like we are, or like many other primates are. And so he might be thinking to himself, oh goodness, there's a predator there. He might be thinking, what a pretty place. He might be thinking, oh, I don't feel good today, I might be sick. Prithvi, you're 11 in India and wondering what some of the ways male animals use to attract females. Well, in the case of the waterbuck, you'll find that it's his big horns that are attractive to females, also his size. So often the biggest males will be most attractive to females. In the birds, it's often how brightly colored they are or how long their tails are. I'm trying to think in other animals. In some of the baboon species, it's how big their teeth are. And in the primates, like the monkeys, it's often their status. So how dominant they are within the hierarchy. So there are lots of different ways. It really just does depend on the animal. He's a magnificent creature. Yes, and he looks like he knows he's magnificent, doesn't he? Unfortunately, as magnificent as he is, he doesn't appear to have found any ladies to be magnificent for. Let's now go back up to Ngala, where Nikki is sitting with a very colourful bird that's already found itself some breakfast.
So we just found this lilac-breasted roller, and you'll see like he has something in his mouth. It looks like a stick insect. And he just caught it right in front of us, and he flew up to this branch. See how he's now taking it, and he's like tenderizing it. He's biting it. Like he'll even rub it up against the branch a few times. Have a look. It's so interesting. Like earlier on when he turned, he actually threw it up. Oh, let's see if he can eat it. See the legs still sticking out of the mouth. See, it almost looks like every time he's trying to swallow, he'll take those legs and even like brush it against the side just to angle it so he can swallow the whole thing. But that's a pretty big breakfast for him. Let's have a look. That was special, but it's such a beautiful bird. Like, he is a bit in the shade now, and I'm actually hoping that he turns around so there's a bit of sunlight on him. But the colors are beautiful. You even see, like, from the little bit that we can see, there's quite a lot of white around, especially above the brow, and of course the tail as well. There you can just see a little bit of blue on the flanks. It'd be nice to see if he comes down in more in an open area in the sunlight. The colors are this iridescent blue colors, so it is a phenomenal bird. Daniel 86, I do agree with you. Like, I also love birds. So this one is the lilac-breasted roller. Now, where the name comes from is like if you look underneath the chin, you see like there's a little white patch, and just underneath that there's a bit of like purple underneath, like a little band. Now, they form pair bonds. In other words, the male and the female, they'll stick together for life. And they're quite territorial, and they'll defend their territory quite vigorously against other males that try to come into this area. And of course, what they eat is they're very opportunistic, but mainly there was a herd of wildebeest that were earlier down at the bottom. like where there's quite a bit of like long grass here, and there was a herd of wildebeest. So what he was doing is he was sitting here and he was waiting to see what the wildebeest were doing, because as the wildebeest are moving through this tall grass, they're disturbing the grass, and all the insects will fly up and he'll go and catch them. And so the wildebeest walked through, and I think while they were walking through, he probably spotted that stick insect moving on one of the nearby shrubs, and so he decided, you know what, that's an opportunity for breakfast, and he went down and he caught it. And now he stood right back onto that branch. But the other day we counted, myself and another, oh, it's just how fluffed himself up. It's early part of the morning still. Often if it's cold, you'll see them puffing up their feathers like that. But there's quite a few different rollers you get in this area, but this is one of my favorite, and it's so beautiful, especially when they fly. It's a very, very bright, light blue color. And that's why, like, with the sun coming on him, we might even see more of his colors. But the other day, myself and another ranger, we counted to try and see how many different colors could we see on this bird. And I think we stopped counting at 13. See how he's cleaning his bill now. After good breakfast, just cleaning. So we're saying goodbye to the kids in terms of all the, like, our kids' morning, but the kids still stay in tune because we are welcoming all our viewers, and please send in those questions. We had andBeyond in Ngala, and then of course with me is Marcel, and I'm Nikki, with your guide this morning. And just to show everyone the area that we are going to be operating in this morning while we're looking at this beautiful bird. Just quickly, so this is one of our starbirds. So this is the lilac breasted right over there. So I don't know if the colors would be too great, but if we do see one a bit close up, I'll show it. But I just wanted to get to the map to show you more or less where we're going to be driving. Sorry, my hands are so cold from this morning. There we go. So we are currently right over here. So this morning we're going to be exploring quite a bit of this part over here, see if there's any tracks or signs of lions. As it starts warming up, we'll go into an area right over here and start looking out for some wild dogs. But of course what we see is what we see. But then of course what we try and do is we want to go into the areas where, especially earlier part of the morning, lion and leopard. As it warms up, we might look for wild dogs, but then of course later on some of the bigger animals like elephants, buffalo, maybe giraffe might even go down to the water to drink, and that's when we'll be heading up in this direction right over here. But for now, let's carry on. The lilac breasted roller had his breakfast. I don't think he's going to be heading anywhere pretty soon, so let us carry on with our search. So we are working together with some of the other rangers this morning. Roan is out, as well as Yapi, and I think Sean might also be out this morning. So they are looking out for any tracks or signs, and they're giving us a hand to try and see if we can find some of these animals that we are looking out for this morning. But you can see the area we're going into. It's a beautiful open grassland, and dare I say it, it's also a good area to be looking out for cheetah. Now cheetah early on in the morning probably be on a termite mound, or maybe laying in an open area. But while we're carrying on with our search, let's send you across to Lauren, who's currently looking at some tracks.
We are just looking at tracks and having a discussion. The tracks are going the opposite way from where I'm going. They are heading this way into the property. Leopard. Look like female leopard from the size. But what's interesting is that I drove this road last night. James also drove it. Now I can't see them. The Mahindra is so easy to track from. You can just hang over. You've got an armrest. In the other vehicles, we can't do that, or we would fall out the car. How strange. Can you see them on your side, Darby? No? Aha, here we go. Look at these beautiful fresh tracks. I'm going to pull up so that Davi can show you them. You get them? Now, the sand is really soft here, so some of them look much bigger than the other ones. Some of them look like male, but it's because the sand is so thick and soft. I wonder. We have just driven the road, though, and no signs. I think maybe we have to U-turn. What do you think, Dobby? Yes, U-turn it is in this ginormous beast of a car. Okay, I'm going to try and do a smooth, skilled U-turn. And as I attempt this, we're going to send you across to James with some impala.
There are some impalas beautifully floating in amongst the Aerogrostis there. And just behind us, a little group of squirrels are shouting their heads off. The impala seem particularly unconcerned, however, by the alarm-calling squirrels. Maybe the squirrels have seen a snake and the impala understand the difference between the different calls. Hello, Olivia. You know, these antelope are not trying to show emotion when they swing their tails like that. That's just to get rid of flies. So it's not like when a dog wags its tail, it's showing it's happy. So the tail is used largely just to get rid of the flies. And also to cover the very vulnerable parts that are underneath the tail. So the tail's quite important. I'm just going to drive around the corner here quickly, because there are some squirrels shouting right close by. Let's just stick our noses in this area. And they are going crazy, these squirrels. And squirrels going... They could be alarming at anything. And I was reading a few days ago that the really good trackers will tell you exactly what they're alarming at. They've learned to understand the different tones of a squirrel's alarm call. I have not managed to do that just yet. Let's go and see if we can find what it is. Naturally, they have now stopped. They were shouting in here. There are birds on the ground, so it's unlikely to have been a leopard. Let's just stop. Somewhere around where that dove is there, Owen. Yeah, the squirrels have stopped now. Naturally. Alright, we'll just quickly circumnavigate this thicket and then go back out and continue on our way. We found thousands of hyena tracks, all of them going north into the reserve north of us. And so, well, we'll probably do the western boundary next. What's that?
Smell the aniseed.
Yes, we can smell the aniseed, the wild aniseed. We'll just go around this thicket. It may have been a slender mongoose. It may have been a snake. It may have been an eagle flying overhead, although I think that's unlikely. Beautiful light. Or a leopard. That's what we were hoping for, obviously. That's what we're always hoping for. So what everybody's always hoping for. But I don't see any leopards. Many people asking if we get tigers here today. No, we are in Africa. Tigers do not occur in Africa. Tigers occur only in Asia. They occur in lots of different parts of Asia, including Russia, China, Bhutan, Nepal. I think they occur in Nepal, but mostly they occur, of course, in India. So that is where you're most likely to find a tiger. I've seen tigers in India, but they do not occur in Africa. So, no luck there. And unfortunately you get a lot of them in America as well, where there are more tigers captively held than there are tigers in the wild, which is an interesting statistic. But we won't get into that. Let's have a look there at that beautiful crowned lapwing. And there are a lot of people in South Africa that keep captive tigers as well, so we don't find them only in held captive in the States. You find them held captive here in South Africa also. And who knows what people are doing with them here. Very seldom is there any conservation value in that sort of thing, because they're never the species that, they're a great mix of different species. So they don't have any conservation value. This is a crowned lapwing, and I suspect that it's got some eggies close by. The most notable thing about the crowned lapwing is its salt gland, which you can't see. And the salt gland is just above the nose. And what it means is that the crowned lapwing is almost entirely independent of water. It's able to excrete salt through the salt gland, and in so doing maintain the electrolyte balance in its body in a way that you and I never could. Often overlooked bird, this, because they're pretty common really, but they've got lovely colours. They've got an extremely irritating call when you hear them in the early morning and you're perhaps a little under the weather. And also they are known as vicious attackers of golfers. I remember being set upon by a pair of crowned lapwings when I was a wee lad trying to learn how to play golf. Never learned, by the way. And being quite nervous and swinging my sawn-off 3-iron at it. You see, you want to know what this crowned lapwing's saying? It's saying the following. It's going... which translated means... I think what it's doing now is laughing at a hilarious joke. I couldn't think of anything more pithy to say than that. Sorry about Lisa. We'll continue down the western corridor. You're going to go across to Lauren, who's got a spider.
We had a very traumatic, scary incident here, everyone. It involves this bark spider who was about half a meter above my head, and I almost drove into him. He got a bit scared and he scuttled off. And bark spiders always look, they have a completely different web design from the golden orb web spiders, and they always look like they're zip lining. They hang on one thread of silk and they zip line across it to reach the rest of the web. And Davy said, "Oh, that's a little spider." I argued back, that is not little. Anyone who calls us little is seriously deluded. This is a very large spider, but it's a bark spider, and they're semi-attractive-ish for a spider. I'm convinced we're on the tracks of Shidulu, and I'm convinced she's here. I could be wrong, of course. The tracks don't tell you exactly what leopard it is. I wish. How easy would life be if they did? But I'm convinced that's who it is. Now I'm in a bit of a tricky spot. I'm stuck. We're going to have to do a wide loop and hope that we do not meet this. Oh, many people are saying you don't like spiders. Listen, everyone, I can sympathize with that. I came to Djuma a year and a half ago, if not more, terrified. Ask anyone. Ask James. James was my mentor. I owe James a lot. He made me who I am as a guide. Sorry, everyone. I'm just trying not to crash this web with our antenna. Ah, we did it. Bye, little barky spider. So yes, I was terrified. I had severe arachnophobia for no reason. I cannot give a reason or a story or anything logical. And slowly but surely I've just got over it. I don't like spiders, and I think it's the way they move. I think it's the fact that they have 8 legs, and I don't like it. But I don't want one in my bedroom or my bed or on my face, which almost happened there. But I actually appreciate them. See, when you really dig into the biology of spiders and how fascinating they are, they're incredible. I know, I can't honestly believe I'm saying it. They do give me the heebie-jeebies. But we need them. They're fundamental to the ecosystem, any ecosystem, not just here in South Africa, but also they're incredible. And sometimes when you zoom in to their face and you see their 8 little eyes, you think, oh, they're actually not that bad. I know. Anyone can tell you the story of how terrified Lauren was of spiders. John, you're from Colorado. I don't know why I said it like that. I don't think anyone in Colorado speaks like that. But you're asking about the bark spider's name. Now, I wonder if I can just quickly pull up an image, because they actually look like bark from a tree, and that's their method of camouflage. So we maybe didn't get a great look at that one because it's scuttled away. But they're designed to camouflage themselves. Here, Davy, this one, I've got my PorQ pointer on hand. You can see, this is a relatively small one actually, but they're mimicking bark. And that's their form of camouflage, and that's how they sort of survive out here. Although when you see a bark spider suspended in mid-air on a web, I'm not really sure who would not think it was a spider. But this one's a very, very sweet looking one, and this sort of purpose is to look like bark of a tree, and that's where the name comes from. They've often got sort of things sticking up, little protrusions that disguise the fact that they're actually an 8-legged arachnid, and they're pretending to be a floating piece of bark. Very impressive. Okay, Davy and I have 2 options because the female leopard's tracks disappear. So she's either gone off to the left, off to the right. So we're going to have to make some decisions up here. And as I ponder over which way to go, we're going to throw you guys all the way back to Nikki at andBeyond in Ngala.
So we just heard some exciting news. Is one of the... Bless you, Marcel. Marcel is trying to hold in a sneeze. So apparently one of the guys near one of the camps, so near Tente Camp, they said they saw lions this morning. So that might be the Birmingham Pride with the young white lions in them. So we're going to head straight across there and see if we can find them. There were also quite a few vultures in the area. So I wonder if these lions might have made a kill during the evening or maybe even this morning. So we don't know. We are going to be heading in that area. It's probably going to take us another 10 or 15 minutes to get there. But let's keep our fingers crossed that we'll be able to find these lions this morning. We know more or less where they were seen. So what we're going to do is head straight to that area, see if we can find some tracks or signs, maybe, and see if we can see the vultures or maybe spot those lions through the grass. but it's up in the direction of where the sun is. That's where they were seen. Alexis and Alexander, you were asking a very good question. If we do find tracks of animals, how do we know to which animal does it belong? So how we normally can see what tracks they are, so with every animal there's a specific type of track. So to give you an idea, let's say a baboon has walked over the road, then it almost looks like someone that has pushed down their hand. So you can see the 4 fingers and you can see a thumb. If it is a cat, like a lion, maybe a leopard, you would see there's no claws on it because they tuck their claws away only to use it whenever they might jump on their potential prey when they hunt. If it's a dog-like animal, so let's say if we had to compare it against a wild dog or maybe even something like a hyena, you will see the pads, but then you'll see claws in the sand as well. So what I'll try and do is, if we do find some lion tracks that we can see, I do have a booklet here that I'll show you. Maybe once we find those lines, we'll see if we can get onto those pads. But that's how we tell the difference, is just by looking in the ground and trying to figure out the line, the outline of it. Yeah, you can imagine, let's say if you had to play, if someone had to walk outdoors with, and they were barefoot, you'll be able to see the individual toes and the digits, where if someone walked with the shoe, you can just see the print of the shoe underneath. So it's just basically trying to look at as much features as we possibly can. Right, so while we're heading across to go find these lions, let's head across to James, who's also looking at some tracks.
Well, I'm trying to find some tracks, but I'm failing miserably at the moment. Let's just point the camera in here, Owen, and see if these blue wags belos don't emerge for us. This sometimes draws them out. There we go. Oh, there's a whole lot of little finchy birds in here. I'm just going to move slightly forward. No, there we go at the top. No, midway. They're right here, close to us now, looking at us. No, I know that that's possibly not the best thing to do because, well, it does make them think there's something alarm calling. But yes, it does often call them out. And where there are blue waxbills, there are often green-winged pytilias. Oh, they're loving the morning now as the light hits them. The sun's rays warm them up. There is a green-winged pytilia. Ah, it's in the back there, Owen. Let me just go back a little bit. It was here. Look in this top of this wax. Golrez, you say you don't want me to make that sound because it makes you need to pee. Sorry? Right, our green-winged Pipetilia's gone.
Wattle.
So I don't need to, have you got one? No. No, I was looking up here. They've gone. Sorry, Golrez, I had no idea that call had a diuretic effect on the human being. I shall never do it again. Well, that's a lie. But I shall be more circumspect. I'll do a disclaimer beforehand. I do apologize. Tommy said it sounds like a water pistol. It's actually quite effective. They came just quickly to have a look what it was and then disappeared back into the bushes. I don't feel too bad about it because it's a human noise, and it's not like I'm playing the calls on the app to them, which I do feel a little bad about sometimes. It probably does very little harm, but rather do be overcautious, I find, in the wilderness. Some wildebeest have passed this way. Who knows what else, what other predators come past. Golrez, I think it's unlikely, but you say I'll start to understand when I have a baby. Look, biologically I'd say that the chances of my having a baby are very small. Maybe if I'm very lucky, my wife will beget me an heir, and I'll make that sound and see if it affects her. Thank you, Enrique, saying that nurses leave the tap running to make patients have a pee. That's a wonderful fact of the day. I feel this conversation's turned from the original purpose. We're on the western boundary heading towards the south, and we shall turn east from here now. There was something else I wanted to say of vital importance, and now I can't remember what it was, obviously. With all this talk of diuretic noises. Oh, thank you, Joshy. Fantastic. I just wonder if you haven't perhaps been outside and sampled some of the mushrooms in your garden. You say your grandfather just turned into an octopus. Again, don't really know how to address that. Don't eat the mushrooms in your garden, Joshy. They're not good for you. Lockdown is taking its toll, obviously. Joshy's grandfather just turned into an octopus. You'll be pleased to know, Joshy, that octopi are supposed to be very intelligent. Well, relatively, compared with most mollusks. You could have a better conversation with an octopus than you can with a snail, for example. I wouldn't expect an enormous amount out of it, though. And like I say, maybe you should probably go and have a lie down. Eat some white bread or some milk, maybe. Should lessen the effects of the mushrooms. Wow. Let's go across to Lauren now, who is on some fresh tracks. Hopefully she'll turn the conversation.
Turn the conversation around. I'm still trying to put together the pieces. We lost the tracks, which means that the female leopard either veered off right into this block. No, that's left. I mean the other right, or this way. We found them again, and now they've veered off, so it's just a case of trying to figure out who it could be and which road they would have most likely have taken. Now, tracking's an art. Davy and I were just discussing this. It involves an incredible amount of intuition, understanding the environment, understanding what you're looking at, putting together all the pieces of the jigsaw. And people like Morris and Herbie, our previous game scouts who used to take us on bushwalk, are incredible humans who can understand a vast amount about what they're seeing. And it takes a lot of practice and a lot of talent. But you also have to be able to use your knowledge. Okay, we've lost the tracks. It's very thick. There's no way we can just bash through here. I'm sure we could, but we'll probably end up with a few flat tires and a broken cameraman. So it's definitely not recommended. So you have to kind of use your knowledge. Okay, if it was this leopardess, which way would she move? If it was this leopardess, what way would she likely move? If they're on territorial patrol, they do take very predictable routes. Not always, but you can sort of figure out. If we hear sawing on the dam cam, if it's Tingana, we'll know to check one specific route. If it's Kalamba, we'll know to check another route. So it really just depends. You've got to try and think about who you're looking at. Andy, we get asked this a lot. Now, it's tricky, but I know that I drove that road last night and there was no such thing as those tracks. They were not there. They're also on top of vehicle tracks, most likely mine. So that gives you an indication that from the time I was on that road last night until we've just found them, someone has walked there. Now, if it's nice and thick sand, the track will be very crisp and the edges of the track, if you like, will be in perfect condition. You imagine yourself walking along a beach. When you walk on the thick sand, you leave a footprint. Now, if the wind was to come and maybe blow a day later, you go and check on that track, you may still be able to see your footprint, but it will not be as crisp or as sharp because the wind has blown the sand over. Maybe other people have walked there. That just gives you an example. It is tricky. It depends on the ground. What ground has the animal walked on? Is it thick sand? Is it soft sand? Is it wet sand? Is it mud? It also depends on the weather. It really depends on what kind of weather you're facing. But I know that those tracks were not there last night and they're in perfect mint, crisp condition. You can almost pinch up the edges. Lots of hyena tracks here, but that's sadly not what we're looking for. So yes, Andy, there's quite a few things you can look at to tell how fresh a track is, but it is tricky. It's really tricky. There was definitely a female leopard that walked this way last night, and I'm only speculating Shibulu. I could be wrong on that front. Okay, I'm going to race around all the roads that I know she takes. And it appears that Nicky is very lucky with these birds this morning. He's got some ground hornbills and vultures.
So how amazing is this? Like on our way to go look for the lions, we actually stumbled across this tree with vultures in it as well as southern ground hornbills. And there's 4 southern ground hornbills in it and then quite a few vultures as well. I'm just trying to have a look at the top. So the top 3, or there's 2 of them that are Cape vultures, then there's 2 hooded vultures and 4 ground hornbills. That is so amazing. So I don't know if we'll be able to get a bit closer to that one, but have a look. See, the one's just like cleaning all the feathers, and it might have been because earlier on they were in the grass, and then like we saw them flying off and landing in that tree, and I wonder maybe like after walking for quite a bit, there's quite a lot of grass seeds and everything like attached to the feathers, so they're just probably cleaning that all off. And what's so special about them is, like with southern ground hornbills, you don't really see them in a lot of places in South Africa. It's only in certain big protected areas you do find them. I do remember, like especially guiding down in andBeyond Pinde, like which is in just north of Durban. Like originally there were a few in that area, but then as time went on, because of their numbers, they started declining quite a bit, and it's only in like at Ngala where we actually see quite a few of them, which is very unique. Like, I mean, I've been traveling quite a bit in southern Africa and haven't seen as many as I often see here.
Can you come in?
I love wild dogs. You asked a very good question. Have I heard the hornbills calling this morning? I haven't heard them calling, but I have heard quite a few, and they have this, almost sounds like a drum noise, and it's like a doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. And so we heard that this early this morning calling, but yeah, it's so special. We haven't heard them calling. We just saw them flying up and landing. That's how we managed to find them. Yeah, for myself and Marcel is just saying, like, it's so interesting to see vultures and the ground hornbills together. Like, normally, whenever you find ground hornbills, they're either on the ground or they move off. You see them in the distance in the tree, but to see them and the vultures up. And this is quite close to where the lions are, so maybe, like, let's carry on with our lion search. I just want to find out from some of the rangers if they had any further update about these lions, so we can see if we can get them. Gareth, you were asking a very good question. Do vultures always scavenge, or do they hunt as well? So mainly they are scavengers, but like I've seen or I've heard about a situation before where, like, if they do find something quite small near a carcass, let's say if it's a small reptile, or they could potentially go and kill it, but they won't actively hunt. So you won't necessarily find them going and hunting little impala lambs. But if there was something small in the area and there's an option for them to try and get it, they'll definitely try. They're very opportunistic. But the same with these southern ground hornbills. I mean, for them, often if you see them like feeding, they'll go for snakes, lizards, insects, anything that they can possibly get. Squirrels, frogs. Scrub hares, yeah. Sometimes little birds, bird nests. A comment made by a butterfly in regards to the hornbills, like, I do agree they are special birds. And like, as I said, you don't really see them that often. So whenever we do see them, we do spend quite a bit of time just to appreciate it. You can see that one that's now printing itself like those white outer feathers. And so often when they fly, you can just see those very dark big bird, but then towards the end, those trailing feathers, those beautiful white colorization, really distinctive feature of them.
I love the fact that they're just as interesting and inquisitive as normal hornbills.
But I think for now, while they are still up in that tree, it doesn't look like they're going to be heading anywhere pretty soon. Maybe just catch a little bit of that early morning light. I think for now, let's carry on and see if we can get these lions. So we're luckily not too far from where these lions were seen. So like, I'm just trying to work with the rangers so we can try and see if we can find them. So while we're going to do that, let's head across to James, driving in the riverbed.
We are going on a boat cruise up the Marty riverbed. As you can see, pretty calm conditions today. And I'm afraid... many of you are asking about Sebwig the owl. Well, Sebwig was an owl, for those of you who don't know, is an owl, I hope. We don't know if he is or was. We don't know if he was a he or a she, actually. Spotted eagle owl that we watched grow up from a tiny little chick of about that size to a juvenile of that size before he left home. About I'm going to say 12 weeks after he was born. Or hatched. I don't think you can be born if you come out of an egg. I think you hatch. Anyway, he gave us the most wonderful, wonderful time. And if you want to see pictures of him, you'll find pictures on all of our Instagram accounts, no doubt, and probably videos and things. We loved him very dearly. And it was especially nice because it was in the lead up to Christmas that he was around, and so there's that lovely air of anticipation in the world as we watched him growing up. And unfortunately he left, and so we don't know where he is now. The Franklin decided to have a territorial yell at each other, and it was right around here that he was born. They're born normally in the banks of riverbeds like this. There is an animal, and I think it is a Wasserbok. Let us go around this corner and see if I am correct. It's definitely not a leopard or a lion, it is a Wasserbok. Good morning, big Wasserbok. Why don't you run away like a ninny? Yes, goodbye. May the ticks bite you today. Your ninniness. Why not, Kirsten? Kirsten says I can't use the word ninny. Is that not a good word? Apparently it's offensive. Well, it probably is to someone. I mean no harm by it, except to the waterbuck, who I think needs to, you know, toughen up a bit and maybe learn that we're not going to eat him. I don't think he's a very clever waterbuck because he hid his face and therefore assumed that we couldn't see him. So maybe I'm being unkind. Caveat, they often don't get filled with water for years and years. And then this year we had lots of rain and it fell in over a short period, and so this river actually did flow this year, which was wonderful to see. I didn't think it would. I thought we'd need even more rain than we had this year, but it flowed a lot. So they only flow when we have very big storms. Otherwise, they stay dry like this. And even the great big Timbavati River around Ngala, where Nikki's driving, that big river hardly ever flows, despite its size. And it must have flowed more often than it does now for it to have formed. And I think this one did as well. This is where we used to see Sebwig the owl. We even watched him take his first flight. We watched him take his first flight from a bush there down over my head, and I became so excited that I said, "He can fly! He can fly!" And then everyone teased me mercilessly about it. And X-Ranger, who I think is in Tasmania, has just teased me about it again. Thank you, X-Ranger. Became deeply overexcited. Let us now go to Lauren, but this one is of the sky.
I have found a brown snake eagle perched on the top of this dead tree far away in the distance. And from a distance, you really, well, without using the camera zoom or my binos, you definitely can't tell what bird of prey it is. I can see that it's brown, and that's about it. But once you home in a little bit closer, you can see that it's got bright yellow eyes, a key feature of the brown snake eagle. Yes. Oh, there we go, toilet time. And it definitely has yellow eyes, doesn't it, Dobby?
I think so.
I'm looking through my binos here. Ah, yes, and look at those bare legs. You see that? No feathers running down those legs, just bare, naked legs. It's revealing itself. And that's how we know it's not a true eagle, it's a snake eagle. A gorgeous bird that, believe it or not, you might be surprised by this, is a fan of eating snakes. Yes. I know, I was surprised too. But they are expert at catching and hunting snakes, including large poisonous species. They know exactly how to tackle them. So they perch on the tree as it is doing right now. And because they have such incredible vision, most birds of prey do, they're able to scan the ground for any slithering reptiles that they can swoop down and, well, hunt. I believe they can even take down African rock pythons, and they are huge. If you ever see a python out here, which we have done, mostly in Tingana's mouth, but we do see them, they are really large snakes with huge muscular bodies, really, really wide and long, and these birds here are just experts at also taking down pythons. Warming up for the morning, I think, enjoying the sun, which is exactly what I would be doing if I was a bird. And off we fly. So, update on my leopard mission. We're trying to do wider loops. Because it's summer, you can't bash through a block. If you watch us in winter, it will be an entirely different scenario. You'll be able to bash right through and nothing will be in your way. There'll be an occasional stump that you'll hit or an occasional log that you'll go over, but otherwise you can see very, very far. And normally you can sort of follow tracks off roads, but we can't do that in summer. So what I'm trying to do, if there's a mobile leopard, we also need to be mobile. And I'm just doing wider loops around the area, hoping that we get lucky. A leopard's territory, both males and females, have different recognized areas. So they will have a core center, a core area, and then the sort of next wider area will be the secondary area, and then it will jump to the tertiary area. They don't actively defend and behave the same in each area of their territory, believe it or not. That's new science. They will be far more precious and aggressive within their core area, which will normally contain a water point, a permanent water point. Mira, it's not easy, but generally size. So the female leopard tracks are tiny, really, really small. I should have put my hand next to that one. They're, in my opinion, smaller than you would think they are, if that makes sense. They're very petite. Male leopard tracks are much bigger. But for example, let's just say a young male, a very young male, you could get confused. You could think it was a female and it could end, oh, spiderweb. Did you get that one, Davy? It's on you, the spider's on Davy. This is how you drive in summer. It's either this way or this way. And normally I try and let them hit my cameraman. They can handle it, I cannot. So yes, it's all to do with size. And of course, we do know our leopards in the area. We do. We know which roads they use. We know which section of the reserve is their territory. So we can really piece things together. We can recognize different saws that we hear on the dam cam. But of course, you do get surprise visits from unknown leopards, but it's normally size. If you see a very small track, it's a female, unless there's a new, very small, skittish male in the area that you've never seen before. Same with lions, size. You see a lioness track and you think, wow, it's huge, especially compared to leopards. But then you see a male lion track and you think, oh my goodness, it's even bigger. Okay, only hyena here. Which means we've got to rethink our route again. Like a permanent GPS updating the route. Okay, we'll do one more loop for our lady leopard. And then we shall bumble to some of the dams and see what's going on down that way. We often say in summer, there's a high chance you drive past many leopards per day. All of us. Every single one of us, because it is just so thick. And apparently this is the thickest it's been in a very, very long time, due to all the water and rainfall we've had. Okay, wish me luck everyone on my last leopard loop. As I hope to find my spots, we are going to send you back across to Nicky, still on his way to those lions.
So we've been following the area where the lions were seen a bit earlier, but I think they might have moved from where they were originally seen. So now we're slowly driving this area to see if we find any fresher tracks, and also if we can possibly spot them. So we're just keeping a good look at myself, looking like a little meerkat standing at the back scanning around, which is good. But I'm hoping that we'll find anything. Now the last movements, we're almost heading in the direction that we are heading in now. So we're just carefully scanning as we go. Like they might even find a right dense area to go and lay in, because it might be quite warm during the day. It's already starting to warm up quite a bit. So I'm just hoping that they might settle in a bit of an open area so we can spot them. But it is like the excitement is building up. Often with these lion searches, it's like it's a puzzle that you have to start putting together. So you first start with the outline. Okay, I didn't see anything here. Now from there on you start the inside and you start building it until eventually you're so lucky that of course you find these lions. As I'm saying, I'm just slowly driving to see if there's any tracks right in front of us on the road, so that we don't miss anything. So while we're still looking, let's head across to James with the dwarf mongoose.
There is the dwarf mongoose, silhouetted in the risen sun. And if you listen carefully, if that rattling testicular would just shut up for a second. You'll be able to hear the mongoose. They are the whistling sound around the rattling testicular. in Shangaan is Matrikitsog, which is onomatopoeic for that call that they make. Matrikitsog, Matrikitsog, Matrikitsog. I'm not sure why these birds are so deeply distressed. Maybe it is the mangusta. For those of you who don't know and are wondering, the plural of mongoose is mangusta. Not mongai or mongooses or mongoose, it's mangusta. Some of you are now wondering if I'm being serious, of course. I'm not. Sweet little thing. Yeah, Kelly, it is a full-grown adult, be a sub-adult, but it's about the same size as a full-grown adult. It's the same troop that we had here yesterday, just as the sun went down. Now, you'll probably find that those rattling testiculars are either shouting at each other in territorial distress, or they've seen a predator moving through the grass here. It could be a snake, it could be something like that. It might even be that they're shouting at these mongoose. Nirvana Girl, it's sort of chilling by itself, but you'll find that the troop will have bombshelled slightly after it came out of the mound this morning. So they would have done their social grooming, they'd have yawned and sat in the sun for a while, which is what they do, and then they'd have moved out into the area surrounding their den. And that's probably what Owen's showing you now. We think that's where they probably come from. I'm just gently rolling back because there are quite a lot of them next to us. But rather than do that, I think it's probably beholden on me to send you up north to Ngala, where Nikki has had some great success.
So we just found the whole pride, and if we zoom in, you'll see the youngsters are pretty playful this morning. They've been chasing each other. Look at this one. Probably want to stalk the mother. Well, it's such an amazing fun. And you know what? They're on their way to the river. So what we're going to do is let's just follow them around, see where they go in, and then we can loop around and get into the river. Hopefully, they'll move in there so that we can have a pretty nice view of them. But you just have a look right over here. It looks like there might be some more. Just want to stop here. This one looks like it's stalking one of the siblings. I'm just going to lay down so you can see. So there's the one coming. He's actually walking into a little trap set by the other one. Let's see now. I'll just patiently wait. Oh, there we go. All right, they've headed into the river. So what we're going to do is let's drive around and see if we can get inside the river and have a look at them. Wow, it's so exciting, like this whole morning, but it was such a build-up because then eventually we saw this francolin like flying up, landing into the tree, and it was calling down, and then the impala started snorting, so we knew there had to be something in the area. And then Marcel, of course, Eagle Eye Marcel, spotted those lions from a good 70, 80 meters away in a thick bush. So well done, Marcel. Okay, so what I want to do, as I said, I want to quickly pick up the pace. I want to try and get into that riverbed because if they do move off, it might take a bit of time to get around. But if they are in the riverbed, as I said, how amazing. They might even be going there, because you know, like how the elephants will go and dig for some water, just so that they open it up and they can go and have a drink. But it won't take too long. And just take it out of high range. But I think let's try and get there. JD, you were asking a really good question. I didn't get the last bit of the question. Was it, what is the biggest pride I've ever seen? Or... So the biggest pride I've ever seen was this pride initially. So they were a pride of, I think they were close to 32 lions before they broke up. And then they became the Birmingham, they were originally the Birmingham Pride. And then the other ones became the Breakaway Pride. But altogether, over 30 lions, and this was the biggest pride, or these members were part of that big pride. Now it's not too far. We're just going to carry on, and eventually this road goes back into, it follows this drainage line down all the way into the riverbed. And that's where we want to get to. Now, I can just imagine the sun's going to be behind us. So who knows? Maybe it could be a little treat this morning. It's already a treat finding the lions, but I'm excited. Right, we'll slowly go down. Bella, you were making comment that you'd love to see a lion go on a hunt. Now, it does look like these might have made a kill, like probably in the last day or two, judging by the size of their bellies. But with lions moving, you just never know. So, let's get there. We're almost in the river. As soon as we get over this ridge, it goes down into the river, and then we're going to follow it and see if we can get them. I don't know how many members are part of this pride. Oh, hold on. We just quickly put it back into low range. Here we go. So you can now see the river actually peeking through the trees. Michael, you were asking a very good question. When last did the Birmingham Pride have a white cup that survived? To be completely honest with you, I am not too sure. Like, I would say I've probably known the dynamics from this pride for the last 3 years or so. And unfortunately, oh, there's a little bushbuck that's darting across the riverbed. I wonder if he might have seen, or she might have seen those lions in the distance. But to be honest, I'm not too sure prior to that, though. I know, a few years ago, I think it was 2.5 years ago, there were some white lion cubs. Unfortunately, they didn't survive, as is most of that litter. But who knows? Maybe these ones, especially if you look at this young male. So mainly lions, the mortality rate is pretty high from a couple of months all the way up to a year old. And if they make it over a year and a half, the chances are pretty good that they could survive. Now, being a white lion, I'm not too sure how that will, how that ratio would be, or the percentage would be in the survival. But let's hope for the best. The male's already over a year and a half. The female is over a year. So hoping. Oh, and guess what? These lions are in the river. We can spot them from here. I can just see this tawny color, and I think that the one white one was still coming down. Oh, this is going to be so beautiful. I'm going to stop right in front here. So I just want to have a look. There is a track or not. Let's maybe see if we can push in this side. There is an old track here. have a look at that. It's absolutely incredible. You can even see the white line. The young female is coming in from the right, but she is so dirty at the moment. You can see there she's coming. But have a look at her coat. I think because of the tall grass and she's probably been laying down in a bit of the sand, she needs a proper wash.
She looks tired.
And they do look very tired. I think they might have moved quite a bit. You can see also her belly, big, like full rounded belly. So I can imagine, like today, they'll probably, as soon as they find a bit of shade, they're going to rest up for quite a bit of the day.
That's how I look after a long day of hiking.
Scott, you're asking a really good question. Why did the pride split up? Now, the main reason why pride will sometimes split up is because of the food. So, in other words, so let's say, for example, with a pride like this, if they would kill something like a zebra, normally, like if there's only 5 or 6, maybe 10, they'll get quite a bit of meat out of it, and so then at least they can go another few days without hunting. However, if the pride is too big and they make a big kill, there's barely, even though it could be something as big as a buffalo that weighs nearly a ton, is they don't get enough out of it, because each lion will probably eat anywhere from 12 to 18 kilograms of meat in a go, and the youngsters might even have like 8 or 9, and some of the younger ones maybe 5 or 6 kilograms of meat. However, if a pride is that big, then they constantly need to hunt in order to sustain that. And if they don't constantly hunt, eventually some of them would actually, because of the competition, because with lions there is a hierarchy when it comes to feeding, so it's always the bigger males will go first, then the females, and then only last would the youngsters come in and have a meal. So I would suggest the main reason why they're broken up is because of the competition. So they'd rather break up, and at least if they make kill, there's not all that competition around that particular carcass for food. So this is the sister of that young white one. You can see her belly is also full. So normally if their bellies are full, it means it had to be something big, because often the other ones will have a feast before them, and they don't often. And you were asking a good question, how did I know that the lions are going to come into the riverbed? So I just, like from experience and moving with them previously, lions always have this tendency to move to an area where it's nice and cool and where they can find a bit of refuge for the rest of the day. Also, possibly water. Now, with the elephants often digging in this riverbed, there's sometimes these little puddles of water where they can come and drink. Now, I think one of the main things as well is now coming down, they don't have to lay in the tall, wet grass. They can lay down in the river sand. But they won't be here for too long. You can see now they're already hugging that shade, and there's not a lot of shade in front of them. So as it starts warming up, they might just move around, but I don't think they're going to go too far away from here. It'd be interesting to see their movements. But what's also interesting with this pride at the moment, I haven't noticed I haven't noticed the Ross males, so those big males with the manes, and I've also not noticed the young male lion that's around about 3.5 years old. So it tells us it's only the females and their youngsters at the moment. And I can count 4 big females, and the other ones are all youngsters. So what I want to try and do is, because the way that we position now, we can see the backs of these ones, but so I know some people are asking about the sub-adult male. He's not here. He's also moved away from them. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen during the evening. Are they going to call? Is he going to call? Because the last time they found tracks was quite a distance away from here. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen. But for now, let's head across to Lauren for an update.
We have an elephant bull, and this is perfect timing because I think he's going to pop out right onto the road in front of us, or at least I hope he is. He's definitely on the move. He keeps stopping to have a little sniff of some delicious leaves, but he is on the move, yeah. Hopefully he's going to pop out right in front of us. We just need to make sure we've given him enough space. Can you see him, Davy? No, don't go back into that block. Maybe he's not going to pop out. Unfortunately, that block is a property we can't traverse on the southern side of our southern boundary. So I was really, really hoping that he would pop out and give us the most magnificent views on the road. There's elephants everywhere. It's magical. I have a funny feeling there's going to be elephants arriving at Treehouse soon to drink. So I'm going to quickly do a check of this road, and then I want to be at Treehouse. We saw them all cut across, but again they went into the block. Let's see if we can get another view of this bull for you all. He's walking parallel to us now. Sometimes you anticipate animals' movements and it doesn't always work out for you. How's that, Davy? He's moving. There might be a nice gap here. He's definitely not popping out onto the road anytime soon. He's walking parallel with the road. He seems to be alone, which is completely normal for bulls. It's getting nice and hot now. Had to remove that outer layer. Sophia, you're 11 years old. Yes, female elephants have tusks. All elephants should have tusks, but you will find some tuskless individuals. That's common. And elephants use their tusks for a few reasons. They use them in self-defense. And a female can also defend herself using her tusks. I don't think we're going to get another view of this bull. And they also dig with them, believe it or not. They can dig into the ground. They can stab their tusks into the ground to pull up whatever they're after. And they can also strip the bark of trees. So they can use their tusks to hook onto the bark and then pull the bark right off trees, because elephants love to eat the cambium layer. Now, the bark that you see on any tree, the outer bark, is actually dead. So that hard, sort of beautiful bark that you can see is the dead part. I wonder if we can just take a quick look at this marula, Davy. There's a youngish marula over there. It's very skinny. And that sort of beautiful bark that you can see that looks like someone's taken an ice cream scooper and just scooped chunks of it out. That's the dead part. The piece of bark that's alive is much further on the inside. We can't actually see it, and it's called the cambium layer, and that's where all the nutrients and water for the tree travel up and down. So the water will be pulled up by the roots and travel upwards in the cambium layer, and all the nutrients that are required from photosynthesis from the leaves and the sun will travel downwards. So there's a constant movement of water and nutrients, and that's what the elephants want. I think he's maybe coming towards us again. So they stab the bark with their tusk and then pull off all the dead bark, and underneath you will see a bright red layer. Can you see him, Davy?
Not yet.
Oh, sorry, I can see him. I always forget that your cameraman sits about a meter behind you, so there's always a difference in the view. So yes, that's exactly why females have tusks, because they also need them. Males will, of course, use them in fighting. Bulls can get very boisterous with one another, especially when they're competing for females. Females don't fight using their tusks, but they use their tusks for a huge range of other things. We finally got a view of them. Hello, sir. Top of the morning to you. I'm not sure if any of you saw that, but there's a fork-tailed drongo, that blackbird right above him. Always, always. I'm just going to quickly check something. I saw movement in the distance. I think I'm losing my mind. Always losing my mind out here, seeing spots where there's none. Okay, we may try and turn around to get a better view of this bull, but for now we're going to send you guys across to James for an update.
Well, we're driving down our eastern boundary on some elephant tracks which have gone the other way and into the eastern reserve. And there are also some giraffe tracks going this way. There was an impala. It's disappeared into the bush, obviously. I was just driving along here, feeling slightly sorry for myself, which of course is ridiculous given where I live. And yet, despite my advanced age, there's a Steenbok Owen. Let us not miss this great opportunity at content. It is lying down. Can you see it? It's laying down there in the bushes on the assumption that we cannot see it, which apparently we can't. Can you see it, Owen?
No, I don't.
Okay, your center frame. Go down a bit. There. Middle of frame. He's there. Up a bit. And left a bit. And right a bit. And right a bit again. I promise it's in there. Just stay there. Don't zoom out. Let me move forward. It's going to stand. It's going to stand. Anyway, I was thinking to myself, despite my 43 years, how amazingly pathetic it is that I still think the universe has some concern for my individual desires, such as elephants and or Tundi and her baby. But of course nature doesn't care. Nature just continues. Right, there it is. Can you see it now, Owen? Can you see this closest green bush? Right, zoom into the closest green bush. Now go to the left of that bush. Keep going. And zoom a bit more in. No, zoom out a bit, sorry. I promise you it's there, everybody. I promise. Let me just go back very slightly. I can't do anything about that, I'm afraid. Oh, it's right there. This is going to be great if we see it, I promise. Well, great is a strong term. Owen, can you see the bush? Yes. To the left of the bush and just behind, in a patch of sun, there's a Steenbok. There. Top, up, right, middle of frame. You got him. Ah, hooray! There it is, a Steenbok ram looking at us. Thinks we can't see him. Ha 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 ha.
That's insane.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Well, thank you. Yes, I'm sure everybody is most impressed. Wow. Now, of course, he's thinking to himself, have they seen me or have they not? Are they stalking me? Are they not? Should I run or should I remain, as my name suggests I should, like a stone? And mercifully, it is remaining like a stone. Yes, Kelly, it is. The bush version of Where's Waldo. That's what we aim for here. This particular Waldo thinks we can't see him. Me too. Louis DeLine, you say you're exhausted after that. So am I. Owen's lying on his back. He's let go of the camera. He's also sweating profusely after that immense effort of finding the Steenbok. Yeah, thanks, Chris. You said I was rocking the grass sighting. I aim to please. I aim to please. It's very kind of you to have noticed how rocking I was with the grass sighting. I was about to do a purple Vernonia flower in desperation, but luckily we found this tremendous creature hiding in amongst the grasses. The Steinbock. Now Royna, this is a very, very good question you're asking. Would you zoom all the way out, Owen, and don't lose it, so just zoom all the way out. Now, is that animal camouflaged or is it hiding? Is it in plain sight yet invisible, or is it hiding behind an impenetrable barrier? Now, zoom in and I shall describe the difference. In my opinion, this animal is hiding. It is not camouflaged. If you look carefully, the most obvious part about it are the white ears and the reddish forehead. And they are very clear to see, and so they are not camouflaged. The reason that it is difficult to see is that it is behind an impenetrable barrier of grasses, as are most of the animals around here where I drive. Now, often these two things are confused, and if you really want to know the difference, there is an extremely helpful tutorial I put up on Instagram a while back from the Masai Mara, where I explained the difference between hiding and camouflage. Now, this animal is most certainly hiding. And you may ask yourself, and this is a question I've asked myself many times, why it is that these antelope are such an obvious russet red color. And the answer seems to lie somewhere in the fact that while it is not camouflaged to our eyes, to a predator's eyes, it probably is. Because predators out here, the cats, see only in shades of green and blue. They do not see red, which means that that color there must blend in beautifully to the green background. So while it is hiding from us, it would be camouflaged to a certain extent from lions, leopards, jackals, cheetahs, hyenas, wild dogs, mongoose. Mongoose wouldn't take one, don't worry. Caracals. Well, Owen, I think that was a spectacular Steenbok sighting, don't you?
It was.
I think absolutely wonderful. I'm just not sure what else we'll get out of it. Fern, you say excellent tutorial. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let us now go back up to Ngala, where Nicolas is looking at some lions.
So you can see the sunlight is slowly creeping in on them, and it is warming up. Like I'm sitting here and I can already feel like I might just need to take my jumper off soon. And so I know, like, if that's the way that I feel, I think they, especially with that coat, might also be as warm. Just look at those three that are sitting there just right next to them. Is actually the two sisters cuddling up together, the white lion and his sister just behind her. Bless you, Marcel. Now, just looking at their bodies, they are covered with, it looks like mud. And I think what it could have resulted from that is, like, as they were moving through the tall grass, and so they would have been pretty wet, like moving through the grass, and eventually as they laid in these open pockets, you can imagine all the sand then sticking to them, and maybe even if it was like quite a lot of loose sand, or maybe fine sand, could have been a bit of clay. But I don't think it's going to be too long if we just slowly, or if we just spend some time here. Eventually they'll slowly start getting up and start moving into a bit more shade. because as we spoke the other day as well, and I know, like, as we were following them, you're probably... So what we've probably heard over the last little while is that they are pretty lazy animals, and we said that they could sleep up to 20 hours a day. So eventually from here on, especially knowing that they've moved quite a bit, they might just go find a spot in the shade and go and lay down there for the day. But Chrissy, you're asking a very good question. What happens if another male lion comes in? Would he kill the cubs? Now, the chances are very likely that if two males, or if there's other males that do move into the area, that they'll probably want to, like, try and kill those youngsters. However, bearing in mind how big those Ross males are, and also that subadult, I think it's going to be really hard for another male or other males to move into the area. Now, currently, with the males not being here, it tells us that they're actually doing a territorial patrol, like moving across their territory and going remarking it, establishing it. If there's any young males or any males that are trying to take over the territory, they'll probably chase them out. And where these lions are, they're almost in the central part of andBeyond and Ngala, and because of that, it's going to be hard for the other males to move into this section here. But there's always a chance. I mean, it's never guaranteed. You never know what could happen. But as we said, we hope that these Ross males will keep going at least for the next 2 or 3 years. And saying that as well, I mean, there have been collisions in especially this area of up to 5 male lions. So if that should happen, even if they could be a bit younger than the Ross males, then they can easily take over a pride like this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But for now, I think while we're enjoying them and seeing how they are just enjoying the sun for now, let's head across to Lauren with the butterfly or dragonfly.
It's actually a damselfly. I've made a friend. It's so close to me right now. I wonder, it's eating something. I wonder if I can... Hold on. Wow. Oh my goodness. This is so cool, everybody. Hello, friend. What are you eating? It's eating an insect. I wonder if I can do this. You are gorgeous. Yes, you are. I love making friends, but it's not a dragonfly. I'll explain this in a minute. Oh my God, it's really... Right, okay, Dobby. Can we successfully do this? Wow, I think that's the first time I've ever managed to do something like that. I don't quite know what it's eating. Is it a fly? Kirsten's saying it's a fly. She has a huge screen up in FC and we'll be able to see fly-ish. Look at the colours. Look at those green eyes. I cannot believe I just managed to pick up a damselfly, everyone. Oh, wow. Now, damselflies and dragonflies belong in the same family. So just like moths and butterflies are very closely related in Lepidoptera, dragonflies and damselflies are closely related in Odonata, which means the toothed ones. Now, if you notice, this damselfly, has a very long, skinny, thin body. And if you look at the eyes at the top, I'm sure Davy has given you the most incredible views. They're very bulbous. They pop out the side of the head. Very, very bulbous. Almost like it's got ski goggles on or something. Both of these features, the eyes, they should have a gap in between them. Dragonflies' eyes meet in the middle. Damselflies' eyes don't. So that's one feature you can look at. And then the second feature is the body, that long, skinny body. Dragonflies are much fatter and chubbier, or bulkier, should I say, with a shorter body. So straight away, you know that this is actually a damselfly and not a dragonfly. Once they open their wings, of course this individual is very busy with breakfast, but once he opens his wings, his forewings and his hind wings are completely equal in size and shape. Another feature of the damselfly, whereas dragonflies, once they do open their wings, the forewings and the hind wings are not equal. The hind wings are actually much broader at the base and much thicker. So straight away you can see that it's not equal. Now, another feature, that when a damselfly opens its wings, you can see that they're held together over the thorax and the abdomen. Now that's the abdomen is the tummy, if you like, and the thorax is the chest, if you were to compare it to a human. Whereas the dragonfly, their wings are actually spread out much further down the body. Now that's a bit tricky to explain. I'm going to try and see if my friend will let me spend some time with them. So if I was to give an example, the abdomen would be the tummy, the thorax would be the chest. So a damselfly's wings are held much further up the body towards the head, whereas a dragonfly's are held slightly lower in the body. That's what I mean by that one. Hello, little guy. Did I just ruin that moment? I think he finished breakfast though. Has he disappeared? I was going to place him back in the water. That was my intention, to put him exactly where I found him, which was, of course, in Lauren's pan. Now, I always come here, but I must say the water levels are reducing. It's not as full as it used to be. It's still full, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not as full. You can still see damselflies and dragonflies, but the weavers appear to be no more. The birds, we used to come here and there used to be so many birds that we used to spend hours and hours here, but sadly there's just not the same volume of species anymore. We used to have kingfishers, weavers, bitterns, herons. This is a sign, everyone, that summer is disappearing before our eyes. I think we're well and truly in autumn now, although we don't really have an autumn here. Elise, you're saying that damselfly was a tropical blue tail. Okay, I'm going to write that down on my phone the second I get a moment. A tropical blue tail. I wonder why they called it that. I love it when they make names easy. The brown-headed parrot, I will never understand. Oh, I don't think Kirsten got my joke there. Yes, I think it did have a lot of blue on its tail. And it's very tropical looking, hence the name Tropical Blue Tail. Thank you, Elise, you star. Oh, that was so magical, everyone. I think that's the closest I've ever got to a dragonfly. A damselfly, sorry. Even I'm getting myself confused. Okay, I'm going to head to Treehouse because I'm convinced the elephant... And as I do that, we're going to sing...
We are now going to the Hyena Den, and I have a very interesting request from Judy H, who has found out that the Vernonia that I call Vernonia is not actually called a Vernonia yet, but I don't think they've given it a new name. But she's convinced that we get more than one species here. And I am in no way going to dispute that. Naturally, of course, as her request came through, any sight of a Vernonia plant disappeared. So I have had absolutely no sight of one since then. So, Judy H, the very act of asking for it resulted in it disappearing from anywhere I look. But I will find you some Vernonia. Well, I shall do my level best. For those of you who don't know, Judy H has been watching the show forever, and she has an absolutely astonishing ability to identify plants from where she sits. I think in Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Now this purple flower is everywhere. It's supposed to be everywhere. just quickly look at that impala. Kirsten tells me that Judy H is in London. I thought she was in Canada. Judy H, tell us where you are. Of course it's going behind a bush. Of course it is. You got him. Oh, well done. No, his head's behind the bush. Great shot. Let's keep going. Slender mongoose. Gone. Never mind. At least I'm seeing stuff. Judy H will tell us where she's from. She might not, actually. She might let it remain a mystery. This is absolutely unbelievable. The plant is literally everywhere. But you can't see it. Quite gobsmacking. I think I'm going to buy a tractor and I'm going to grade these roads. Judy H is in Ottawa, Canada, and my wife, for the first time in our married life of 6 weeks, has just said, I was wrong. My dear, I forgive you, and please do not be afraid to say that again, should the occasion demand it. I don't believe that it ever will, of course. I'm sure that you will never be wrong again, but if you are, don't be afraid. I shall think not less of you, but more. I'm going to get a big slap again. Yet another big slap. Can't say I don't deserve them. Yes, Latterly, you're absolutely correct. Even Vernonia can hear me coming and dives down into the ground and hides. Commelina, plenty of different pea species. No, that's the pea species of some description. No, that's the Commelina you're looking at. It's the purple one. It looks like a miniature Scottish thistle. Everywhere has it. My dashboard on the left. This thing. This tortoise. That tortoise? There's an impala at the Hyena Den. That means almost certainly that the hyenas are not. In fact, there is a massive herd of impala at the Hyena Den. What are you lot doing here? This is a Hyena Den. That is quite interesting, though. Let me just keep going forward a bit, though. I mean, the place smells like hyena. It just means that Ribbon's not here. Can you guys not smell the hyenas? I'm quite chilled. Little gang. Little gang of rams. Pretty, there are two reasons why the impala are so targeted by predators here. The first reason is that there are more of them than anything else. So there are far more impala than there are any other kind of antelope. The second reason is that they're the ideal size. So they're the perfect size for lions, for leopards, for cheetahs, for wild dogs, for hyenas. And because of that, they're just really in a sweet spot for the predators to catch. So if you go to the Mara Serengeti, you'll find that probably the most commonly eaten lion prey and hyena prey would be wildebeest, and that's because there are just so many of them. So if you weren't watching last night, we did come through here and find Ribbon and Tsaka, and Ribbon seemed to be cleaning and feeding her babies. So, well, she continues to defy us, refusing to show us her babies. She's still around. I suspect she's just all foraging, and that these guys have not seen her, and the babies are probably still just inside. Very inconvenient, though. The Ribbon should so thwart us. Alrighty, let's go back to Nicky now. He has left his lions, and I'm not sure where he's going.
So we just left those lions, but we do have some exciting news. And I don't want to spill the beans as of yet. What we want to quickly do is, Marcel said he wanted to do his fact of the day, and then soon afterwards he's going to tell you where we're heading now. That's the other exciting part of the story. So let me just get to the front here so we can focus the camera on, so that as soon as he gets here we can... Here we go.
Thanks, Nikki. Okay, so the first steam-powered car that was ever produced that also had a condensator, so it wasn't the absolute first steam car, just the first one with a condensator, was the Doble Steam Car Company Model B, and that was designed by Abner Doble, and he was born in San Francisco in 1890. And then also the longest place name in South Africa is Twee Buffels met een skoot mors doodgeskiet fontein. It's also one of the longest in the world, but not quite the longest. Thanks. Okay, we're going to continue on this road. We're going to continue to Roo Castle Pan, and where we've received news that they have the 2 Ross males.
So in other words, let's go to 2 male lions. So Roan and Yapi on their way. So the Yapi and Roan said that they on their way to track to see if they can find that other female that we think have those young cubs. They found the 2 Ross males. So we don't know too much about it. We don't know if they made a kill or anything. So the only way to find out is if we can get there and have a look. So while we're on our way there, let's head across to Lauren and see what she has for us.
Oh, no, don't fly. Don't fly. Okay, Davi, I think I have something here. Hold on. Just give us... You see it? Exactly 3 o'clock. I don't know if it's just a fly. Unfortunately, I'm going to need my binos for this one. You see it? Okay, hold on, everybody. I just want to check what it is first. I can't even find find it through my binoculars. They're too close. Now there's something sitting there. Directly 3 o'clock. You see it, Davi?
This is on the ground or on the ground?
I'm not sure this mission will be possible. We did have a butterfly for you, everyone, but sadly, it flew away. The reason I want to try and focus on butterflies as much as possible is because very soon they're going to all disappear, and we're going to miss them dearly. Did Kirsten just talk there? Sorry, Kirsty, I lost your audio. Yeah, oh, she did, but it wasn't meant for me. Oh, I'm hurt. You got one? Let's just keep bumbling, see if we can find one. I've noticed the sort of diversity of butterflies also reducing. Most of them will have reached the end of their life cycle, and the temperatures are not in the butterflies' favours at the moment. They need warm, they need the heat of summer in order to power all those muscles to get going. And of course, most butterfly species, it does depend on which species. Oh, you just flew into my head. Why am I attracting all the insects today? I don't know. But yes, depending on the species will depend on how long they do live for, but it's all different. But at the end of the day, they don't have long lifespans. They really don't live for long. Their role is to transform into a beautiful adult butterfly, and then times.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure where Lauren is, that she's lost her signal. We are driving now on the road called Ingwe Alley, which means Leopard Alley, which means almost certainly there will be no leopards here. And we're going to go up towards the main waterhole near our camp, have a look at our grebes, still searching desperately for the purple Petronia flower, which has gone to ground. There are also, interestingly, some buffalo tracks around, and it's important to see buffalo tracks because when one exercises in the bush around here, one doesn't want to run into a buffalo. There's a leopard orchid. Shall we do the leopard orchid perhaps? That didn't hide from us. It's up in the tree there, Owen. It's the only greenery in that knobthorn. There it is. A leopard orchid. Beautiful epiphytic plant. And if you ask the guys at Ngala about these things, they will tell you a lot about them. And the reason they'll tell you a lot about them is that when they drive from the main camp, up way in the north of the reserve, they have to drive through, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. They have to drive through a great big forest of that Mapani felt, and the Mapani trees are full of holes and full of those beautiful leopard orchids. Now, Owen, there's a very nondescript brown bird sitting in front of us. I believe it to be a cisticola of sorts. It's on the grass. You need to swing the camera around now, Owen. But swing your body very slowly, for it is sitting on the grass straight in front of us. The tallest bit you got him. Well done. He'll almost certainly fly as soon as we get zoomed on him. And what I think we're looking at there is a rattling cisticola. Is it? I think that eye stripe is very unrattling cisticolarish. Everybody, we may have an interesting bird here. Very distinct eye stripe. Look how beautiful its little wings are when it when it cleans underneath them. The detail is just amazing. So it's got a bit of yellow, very pink feet. But that eye stripe is very uncisticularish, unless I'm much mistaken. So let me see if I can find the cisticulars. If anybody would like to guess, other than saying the obvious, such as "it's a bird, James," which is the kind of answer I would give. I've actually just written "bird" into my bird app, if you could believe it. It's calling now. Can you hear it? It's going not helping me much. Gone. Is it gone? Yeah. The two of them.
Ah.
The two of them down there. And they're both making a very interesting noise. No, Jordan, is not a canary. It's definitely not a canary. I'm pretty sure it's a cisticola. Henny? No, that is definitely not a southern red bishop. The southern red bishop is distinctive in that it has red on it, which that did not. That was, I'm 99% sure, a cisticola of some description. No, Jordan is definitely not a female yellow canary. The beak was entirely wrong, as were the legs. So, if you look here, here are the cisticolas, or those are the prinias. I don't think it was a prinia, was it? No, it wasn't. So there are the cisticolas, and if you look at something like the zitting cisticola, you can see the same kind of leg posture. And we'll see if we can get you see that kind of thing. It did have an eye stripe. Is that helping at all? Janine, you say a small bird. You are the winner so far, because that's about as accurate as any of us have been. I'm pretty sure it's a zitting cisticola, though. No, Batelier, we don't get fawn-coloured larks here. I'm just going to go to the larks quickly. I don't think that was a lark. We get melodious, at least rufous-naped, flappet sometimes, sabota, and monotonous here. So if you look at the sabota lark there, it did have a bold eye stripe like that, but it had the wrong sort of shape of beak, it had the wrong shape of head, and it had a much longer tail. So, I don't know. No, Julie, the beak was wrong for yellow-throated Petronia. Yellow-throated Petronia looks like a sparrow, but the beak was wrong there. It was an insect-eating beak. It wasn't that very distinctive seed-eating sparrow-like beak. Many of you saying it had the bill of a seed-eater. Maybe I just wasn't looking properly, but I don't think it did. And I think that its legs were very much cisticularish. I'll open the Petronia for you. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a Petronia. I'll show you why now. There's the yellow-throated Petronia, and what it did have was an obvious eye stripe, and that's really quite nice to see on the yellow-throated Petronia because it often doesn't have a yellow throat. So rely on the ornithologists to give it a name that makes no sense. It didn't have a beak anything like that heavy. Its legs were also bright pink, and they were longer than that. So I'm going to confidently say not yellow-throated Petronia. Yeah, Peter, you say zitting cisticola. I think it was either a zitting cisticola or maybe a juvenile rattling cisticola. But I do think it was a cisticola. It may have been a different kind of cisticola that I don't know occurs here. Could have been. That's possible. Thank you for engaging in our little bird debate. I do so enjoy those. We are now going to Nicholas and his major surprise, the surprise majeure of the day.
So we found those 2 male lions, but with the help of these 2 legend rangers. So Roan, of course, in the front seat there, and there's Yapi. So I know there's a lot of viewers that said they wanted to see Yapi. Now, Yapi is very camera shy, but he is, I mean, if you ever see his face, it is like he is the ultimate ranger. Oh, he's the unicorn of the bush. But of course, we're not always as lucky. Yeah, he carries the whole icon of safari with him. But I think on that note, what we're going to do is just move back a little bit and see if we can get those lions. I just want to say thank you to Yapi and Roan for finding them for us. But we're just going to, so just bear with me. I'm just going to move in there because we don't want to have too many vehicles move at once. So we're just going to stop here quickly while Roan and them move out. And then we're going to move towards these male lions. So we're just going slowly back on the road. You can actually see them from here. So we might just focus on it while the other vehicle moves out, and then we'll go in and take their spot. So what we try and do is we don't want to have too many vehicles moving at once. We honestly just want to wait for that one to move out, and then as soon as he moves out and he's pretty far off, we'll try and take their position that they had. Okay, there we go. Let's see if we can get another glimpse of these lions. So apparently it's both the Ross males, so both the brothers are together. So let's just move in. There is a patch of shade here. Oh, the one actually just got up. So let me just stop right over here. I wonder if he hasn't spotted anything. Just look at that. How beautiful is the color of the sun on his mane. Now, just on our right, just so the viewers know, so on our right, there's quite a big open area, and earlier on there was probably some wildebeest in the area, so he's just probably scanning to see if there's anything. But Kylie, you had a very good question. If you look at the lions, do they have a rough fur or quite a soft fur? Now, just have a look at quickly what he's doing now. I thought he might have started scent markings. You'll see often when male lions urinate, they rub their back feet through it. It does look like he's doing that at the moment. But the question is, is the fur quite rough or is it soft? Now, I have touched a lion before, and I would say like the shorter hair, like on the back, the tail, the flanks, that's quite rough. But around the mane, it is soft. Of course, they don't treat their hair like we do ours, so it's not really like it's very sticky and hard, but it is also like soft at the same time. So he's just laid down at the back. Let's try and see if we can just get another glimpse. But that might have even been him for the day. I mean, he could have just gotten up, just scanned the area, made sure there wasn't anything around. Okay, now I didn't see anything. Rosemary, you were saying you are hoping that he might roar the same. I don't think he needs to. I don't think he'll roar now because it is warming up quite a bit. I think later on this evening, if we come spend time with them, we might be very lucky because they're not with the pride at the moment. So you never know if they might start, especially this evening, if they might start roaring to tell the pride where they are. And also the pride might respond because currently what's happening, before we head across to that line, I just wanted to maybe use a map just to show you where they are in relation to each other. Now, so we are right over, I just want to try and, this is the river. So the river is just on this side where they are. So we are probably right over there in the river. Sorry, let me just hold it like this for the shade. And then the rest of the lion pride is here, so they're not far. As the crow flies, they're probably like a kilometer, maybe 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers away from each other. So I think, personally, maybe this evening, if we're very lucky, they're not going to be moving too far. It is warming up quite a bit. There's a few vultures already starting to use the thermals and fly off. So I don't think they're going to move too far away from here, but it would be really interesting either to go sit with the pride or even come and sit with them and see if they might start roaring. Ruby H12 from Johannesburg, you were asking a really good question. How did I touch the lion? So it was actually part of a relocation. So in andBeyond Pinder, they were relocating these young male lions to another area. And during that time, we helped out with the relocation, and we were able to pick up the lions. And so why we have to relocate them is sometimes in some areas, especially the more private reserves, they don't have a very diverse gene pool. In other words, there's not a lot of lions that come in and there's not a lot of lions that go out. So sometimes then you have to, in terms of conservation, you have to move lions to other areas so they do not interbreed with one another. Because if they interbreed, it does damage the genes and they become more susceptible for a lot of other things like diseases. They might have any other abnormalities with that. But during that time, to get back to the point, is when I managed to feel and touch a lion. And it is, it's an amazing experience. I won't recommend that in the wild though. They are pretty dangerous animals and capable of quite a lot. So we're still going to spend some time here to see if they do lift their heads. If not, we might just go past the waterhole, see if there's any other animals going to drink water. But for now, let's head across to James with that little grebe's nest.
There are the eggies. They have yet to hatch as far as I can tell. I'm sorry. Giving it trouble again. I don't know what's wrong with it. I'd love to throw it in the dustbin because clearly it doesn't work. No cracks in the eggies. Is it fixed now, Owen?
Yes, it's working perfectly.
Oh, it would be wonderful if we saw them hatch live. And look how the grebes are continuously modifying the nest, building up their little island. They've put a whole lot of mossy kind of spirulina gunk. That's biologically a fairly inaccurate description, I'm fairly sure, on the sides of the nest. One of them's on its way back here now. And you'll all be pleased to know that Dewey the hippopotamus has returned to the Djuma Dam. Good morning, Dewey. Where is your stick? Oh, you're too shy now, are you? Too shy when you're being observed. No, Kirsten, I'm not going to throw a stick in for him. The main reason being that the kinds of sticks he plays with are about twice my mass. Here comes the little grebe. Good morning, little grebe. Yeah, no, it's not a crack, everybody. I'm looking at it now. It's a bit of grass that's over the top of the egg and you just can't see. Look at this. Oh, it's amazing. Well done, Mrs. Grebe. Look how big her little feet are. That's exactly why she covers them up. She covers them up because she thinks we might be a threat. It's lovely. Now she's uncovering them again. And now she'll sit on them probably. It's so cool.
to recount.
Just counting that they're all there. There you go. Bit of house tidying. Surely your eggies must hatch soon, my dear. Gosh, it's going to be exciting when they do. Yeah, I don't know if a crocodile would pose a threat. I think a small crocodile would pose a threat, probably. While I have your attention, we have here the Vernonia. So Judy H, here's the one species. Judy would like a very close-up of the flower and the leaves, if possible, Owen. I will examine it closely, and if I see a Vernonia that looks distinct from this one, leaf-wise, then I shall pick it.
Which is the leaf, that?
This, yeah, these sort of long things there, that's a leaf.
It's going to go very tight. Hold the sword. Should be enough for it to see.
Beautiful sounds all over still. I got a comment from my mother-in-law who says that I should limit my use of the word stick. Stick, 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 stick. Which stick, Pepper? Because Pepper, the German Shepherd, is watching. She was my wife's dog. And she gets very excited when I say the word stick and keeps barking. Yeah. So that's Vernonia. Let's have one last look at the grebe, and then we'll probably have a little drive around the clearings outside camp before we head back for breakfast. Look at the silver colour on the breast. Just beautiful. Now, a grebe is not the only animal that looks very, very fancy in the sun.
I have a sunbathing squirrel. How adorable. Normally, they can be quite skittish. I think this little squirrel's enjoying the sun far too much to realize we're even here. Or, yes, cursed, posing in the sun. The squirrels are absolutely adorable, and we can listen to the vocalizations that they make as well, which is very repetitive and screeching, shall I say, but they will alarm call for predators. It's just the alarm call for a lot of different predators. So you can't always be guaranteed that it's a predator you want to see. Yes, definitely posing. Knows we're here. Knows we're on camera. It's adorable. Everyone is saying it's so cute. Yes, it is. They only weigh about 200 grams, if that. They're tiny, tiny animals, and yet so flexible and nimble on their feet. But they're very, very small. I think the males will probably weigh around 200 grams, but the females will be less. Why are we flicking our tail like that? Now we're really showing off. Okay, it appears that James has managed to find our favourite reptile at Vuatella Dam.
There it is. Look at it sticking its tongue out. so close to us is why I'm whispering. It's actually so close I can't get a photograph of it. Relax, little thing. I just want a picture. Isn't it amazing? Especially when it sticks its tongue out. Gee, that's a lovely shot, Ern. It's beautiful. Yeah, Colbert, exactly. A huge ear. And every time we move, it gets a little nervous. You won't see one of these in better detail than this, I don't think. No, we just needed to stick its tongue out again. Kirsten says its skin looks like pixels. Yes, I suppose it does. He doesn't like being called a pixel. Many of you worry that it's going to go for the grebe's eggs. I think it's a valid worry.
Go for the grebe.
But it hasn't yet. And it's been here with the grebe for a long time. And there it goes. I mean, it must be a danger to those grebe's eggs because it's big enough. There are at least 2 of them living around here, by the way. It can swim, so I don't think that there's really much stopping it from going up onto that nest and devouring the eggies. I shall be very distressed if it chooses to do that, though. I've become quite fond of those grebes, and the thought of the little eggies being devoured, well, it can't be more than surely 4 or 5 days before they hatch. I'd hate for them to be devoured by this reptile before then. Not that there's anything wrong with reptiles, of course. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on our morning safari. Eventually it proved pretty fruitful from a predator point of view at andBeyond and Ngala. Well done to Nikki and the team there. We will of course see you this afternoon, the now usual time of 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and this afternoon I shall be joined by Trishala. Thank you for your questions and comments. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you later. Stay safe and happy, and most importantly, healthy.